Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. If you're watching live, thank you so much for taking the time on a Monday to watch ISV Connect Live. My name is Brian Galicia. I'm the host of these events that occur every Monday at 8 o'clock. And the purpose of these is really to provide an opportunity for Microsoft employees, Microsoft partners, and potentially customers or buyers who are looking for solutions that work with Microsoft. This is an opportunity to host our business applications ISVs like Five9 on this type of event. So before we get to Walt and Five9, a couple of quick action items to talk about during the event itself. So one is we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So if you're maybe watching from somewhere in the United States, maybe somewhere in Europe, or maybe somewhere in Asia, and you're able to accommodate the time zone change, because in the US, we went back to daylight savings time. So if I seem a little off, it's because my body feels like it's really 7 o'clock, not 8 o'clock in the morning on the Seattle West Coast. So if you want to type in the LinkedIn window, in the comments window, where you're watching from, I'll do a quick shout out as we go through the initial portion of the event. The other is that if you have any questions that maybe that you might think, oh, that's an interesting comment that Walt from Five9 may have meant or mentioned, I'm happy to put him on the spot per se and ask him a real-time question if you have one. So also utilize the comment window to do that. And then throughout the conversation, feel free to utilize one of the LinkedIn emojicons, whether it be support, like, etc., or celebrate, because that gives us an opportunity for Five9 and us to just understand, is the conversation resonating with the people who may be watching it, or even if you're watching a replay. So with that being said, gosh, thank you so much, Walt, for making the time to spend with Microsoft and me in just talking about all the great things that Five9 does. And so as we get started, one of the questions I always ask at the very beginning to start out, hey, what do you do? If people didn't get a chance to see the comment or of your background, what do you do at Five9? And then my favorite question I always ask all my guests are, what's one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing to a broad community?
Great. No, thanks for having us. And it's great to talk to you, Brian. So my name is Walt Rossi, VP of Business Development at Five9. I've got responsibility for our technology partners. I've been with Five9 about 8.5 years now. And we look at our technology partners in kind of three broad areas: the CRM partners, which is how we came to work with Microsoft Dynamics, UC and phone partners, and I can talk about this in a bit. It's how we work with the Teams group within Microsoft, and then our broad ISV ecosystem. So that's a little bit my background prior to Five9, going back 8+ years, has all been in sales, marketing, business development, product management for both startups as well as large companies in the enterprise software space.
That's great. Well,
so LinkedIn profile, stuff that's not on my LinkedIn profile.
Right.
I think I can give you a couple things. So given it's, you typically put work-oriented things
that's
on
right.
your LinkedIn profile. I probably, like most people, I don't have a lot of my college jobs on my LinkedIn profile. So a couple summers in college, I was actually cleaning pools. I had a route cleaning pools. And, what does that have to do with what we're doing today in today's world? Well, when I think back to that job, it was great. Get up at, 5:30 in the morning, put on a pair of shorts, put on a t-shirt, no shoes, and drove my route and was done by 2 o'clock. And, if you think back of all of us working from home in the last couple of years, my work attire approached what I used to wear when I was cleaning pools, which was shorts and a t-shirt. So that's probably the only tie in there. So yeah, that's a work related thing that's just not there.
I love it, Walt. I mean, I could probably hire you to maintain our hot tub.
Yeah, that was part of the job, right? You gotta be able to do that.
That's right. The water quality and just putting the things now, just putting a little dipstick in and going, oh, okay, it's short on whatever it is. And it's amazing when just think about water, how you have to be on top of that. Otherwise, you can turn into, and I'm sure you've seen disasters back in the day when you were doing that. I'm sure you walked up going, yeah, this has been neglected for many, many, many weeks. Do I want to try to scoop out all the algae or whatever's in the water to kind of clean it up and get it crystal clear again?
Yeah, those were the pools that, when it was hot, you chose not to get into, and you just have to focus on cleaning them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So before we get to the questions, let me do a quick shout out for the people, and thank you all for putting comments in the window. And for some reason, sometimes I don't know why LinkedIn or the platform does this, but this is Brandon. So thanks, Brandon. You're watching from Chicago, so thank you. I'm not sure why people sometimes do show up as anonymous. I don't know why. Craig, thanks for watching. Another person from the Chicago area. Hopefully it's warmer than here in the Seattle area. We have Kelly from Omaha. So thanks, Kelly, for watching from Nebraska. We have Paris. So getting always the international viewership. That's great. And then we have someone from the West Coast or the East Coast. Sorry, wrong coast. The East Coast, Paul from Massachusetts. And then one more from closer to my side, Denver, Colorado, which is it's probably still beautiful there. Skiing. I miss going skiing in the Denver area. And then of course one more that just popped in, Marcus from another person from Nebraska. So great. Thank you so much. And feel free to continue to do that. And again, if you have any questions during this event that you want me to ask Walt, happy to do so if their time permits towards the end. So Walt, let's get to the meat of the dialogue that when people think about an ISD, and especially when 5.9, when someone says, okay, well, 5.9, they may or may not know what you do. So why don't you describe to the audience listening now or during the replay, what are the business outcomes that 5.9 does? And what are those outcomes as it relates to Microsoft and Dynamics and et cetera?
Sure. Yeah. So 5.9, we're a cloud contact center provider. And just some background, we're about a couple thousand employees. We operate globally, customers all over the world. We have customers of all size, from large enterprise companies down to SMB size customers using 5.9 for their cloud contact center. And if you think about how we work with Microsoft, today in globally, there's something along the lines of 15, 16 million contact center agents. We all know contact center agents. They're the ones either making outbound sales and marketing calls or taking calls for customer support. And only about 10 or 15% of those contact center agents have moved from into the cloud. The majority are still on old on-premise call center technology. And when those companies decide it's time to move to the cloud, there's really two main components to it. There's the contact center infrastructure, which is what we do, and the telephony capabilities and the routing and the ACD. And then there's the CRM, which is what Dynamics does. And so we're not a CRM. We want to have a tight relationship with Microsoft Dynamics to provide a seamless experience for those agents, where they have on their desktop the Microsoft Dynamics, and we are driving the telephony integration. They can use Dynamics for chat and email and all the other great things Dynamics does. So that's how we came to work with the Microsoft Dynamics group. And it's been interesting in my time with 5.9, going back 8 years. I would say, 8 years ago, we didn't see a lot of Dynamics from a CRM perspective, but probably a couple of years into my time here, Dynamics really came to the scene, and we started seeing their product dramatically in the marketplace. Customers asking us for integrations, asking us to work together. And it's just been great to see the rise of the Dynamics product over the last 6 to 8 years. It's really become a leader in the market.
Yeah, thanks for those comments, Walden. I think that's always that good reminder, because when people think of contact centers or call centers, the first thing, well, if like me, maybe not everyone's like me, but I always think, oh, it's the customer service. It's like, hey, you have a problem, whatever it is, whether it be a piece of software or technology or whatever it is. But you also touched on it. It's sellers as well. So it's those two use cases are customer service and sales. What would you say are the kind of the industry alignment areas where you've seen 5.9 really thrive and succeed in that, to your point, modernizing the contact center? So the old days of these old devices or phones, like I remember back, well, I might be dating myself, but you think about whenever you visit a call center, it's one of those things that not just the places that you have a lot of agents, but the fact that their phone's sitting there, and then someone takes you behind the scenes, you're like, oh my gosh, here's this big telephony switch that manages all this stuff. So maybe you can kind of tackle that and talk about like what does that look like in regards to where do you really find the sweet spots of industry related use cases in working with us?
Yeah, no, good point, Brian. So there's a couple things. I think you're right. Historically, call centers were big, giant facilities of cubicles of people on the phone. And with cloud contact centers, that changed. And all you really need is a laptop and a headset, and you can work anywhere. And we saw that dramatically change with the pandemic, when the pandemic started, because you had, call centers that had thousands of people operating in a building, and overnight they needed to go home. And that was possible if you had a cloud system, because you could simply just let your agents go home and log in remotely, and they're back up and running. So, so we saw that change happen dramatically a couple of years ago, and it's continuing as people come back to the office. Coming back to the office, it's really allowed the talent pool for any company hiring contact center agents to be able to say, it doesn't really matter where you live. Let's just get people that can focus on doing the right job, and they can live anywhere. From an industry perspective, one of the nice things that we see from our market, pretty much everybody has a contact center, so it crosses many industries. But we've seen lots of success in healthcare, financial services, high tech from a customer support standpoint. Higher education has been a good market for us. Retail has been huge. If you look at what happened again with the pandemic, when all the retailers essentially had to shut their doors, we've seen the contact center become that new front door to the business, where customers needed to still buy things. They were buying online, but they were doing it through calling into the contact center. So those use cases across those industries, they changed dramatically in the last few years.
Yeah, and I love what you said, Walt, because that was going to be that follow-up question, but you answered it, which is, gosh, what has the pandemic done to kind of transform and accelerate some of these things? And you're spot on, where the call center, I mean, it'd be interesting, the transformation if people start to go back to that model. But it's proven out that everybody, you can work from anywhere for the most part, unless it's time zone related, so you're not working 24 hours a day.
That's right.
You could take an agent, whether it be a selling agent or a customer service agent, give them the right equipment, and they can do it from anywhere and have that engagement occur tied to some CRM solution. Well, in this case, Dynamics makes a world of impact. So let's talk about and you touched on it, what are some of the experiences that you have witnessed with Microsoft? Because, of course, we appreciate partners like yourself going, okay, hey, whatever that decision was many years ago, where when you and I first had a dialogue as you were onboarding to the Microsoft ecosystem, partners don't magically go, I'm just going to expand my portfolio to some other ecosystem. It's very thoughtful on why someone would do that. But then now that you've done that and you're seeing success, what has that experience been like? Because one of the things with Microsoft, we're not just one thing. We're not just business applications as Five9 knows. We're a much bigger entity with thousands and thousands of other partners and customers. Give us a sense for what's the Five9 ecosystem experience been like.
Yeah, no, good point. If you go back, our original relationship with Microsoft actually started in the UC or hosted PBX, or really it was Skype. If you go back far enough, it was Skype. And you asked the question, well, what's the use case there? Well, if you think about a contact center, we've all called a call center, and sometimes the agent you're speaking with is unable to answer your question or solve your problem. And so they oftentimes need to reach into the back office to get some expert engaged with you to get your question answered. Well, that's typically done by somebody not on the contact center application, but on a phone in the back office. And a lot of times we saw that was people using Skype for their phones. And so we had originally, this goes back many years, had integrations built between Five9 and Skype. And then when Microsoft took the Skype capabilities and merged those telephony capabilities into Teams, we formed a tighter relationship with the Teams group. And so the use case that we often see is customers saying to us, we've got Microsoft Teams with 90% of our employees as the phone system and the communication system, if you will. And we need to be able to let a contact center agent check availability of those back office employees that are on Teams, see if they're available, perhaps transfer the call to them or conference them into the customer conversation to solve the problem. So we had that relationship and have done very well back on the Skype side, and now with the explosion of Teams, we saw that take off. And then about 5-6 years ago, as we started to see Dynamics really hit the market in stride, we realized that we needed to have a tight and seamless integration there. And so our experience with the Dynamics sellers has been great, because first we come in and say, look, there's no overlap in what we're doing. We will let the Dynamics solution handle the digital channels of chat and email, and we'll just focus on the telephony capabilities. And that really makes for a nice working relationship as we go in to sell together with the Microsoft Dynamics sellers. The other thing that we've experienced, which I think has been great, and we're still doing more there, is Microsoft has such a large ecosystem of partners that either provide consulting and implementation, the systems integrators worlds, the Avanods and EYs, et cetera, or there's a big channel ecosystem of companies that are providing the Microsoft products to the market. And so we want to work closely with those channel partners that Microsoft works with to make sure we're bringing the solution to the end customer.
Yeah, God, well said. Well, I mean, I think that journey, and I love the history lesson. I didn't even realize that myself. This started with Skype, but I think that's the amazing thing, is that wherever a partner starts, it creates this opportunity of ecosystem to kind of evaluate, okay, where do we expand and do things, and then appreciate the engagement. Because that's one of the things too, is it's not just building on the solution technology, it's then the co-sell aspect of it, and then working with the Microsoft broad global teams to determine, okay, geez, we don't do this ourselves. Like, this is why we have an ecosystem. Well, any company, including Microsoft, has an ecosystem because we can't do it all. Mm-hmm. And so we have great partners like yourself that you talked about that offers this capability uniquely to service this scenario in conjunction with us. So let's, before we get to the next question, which is one of my favorite questions about the customer kind of examples and scenarios, let's do a quick shout out to all the rest of the people that put it in here. So John, thanks for watching from Ohio. 2 from San Francisco. So this is great. It's kind of a matchmaking exercise. Like, oh, Marcus and Kelly probably didn't know they were from Omaha. So it's good that we can create a matchmaking exercise for creating, it's a small world, creating those connections. Kelly, so I guess this is like the Go Jays. I'm not sure what that reference is, but
I do. That would be the, I'm guessing it's Creighton, the university, given the March Madness, what's going on.
Yes, I forgot. So yeah, the Creighton. So it's interesting, side note, because I'm a big Oregon Ducks fan. You probably maybe saw I was drinking coffee. And the former Creighton coach actually coaches the men's basketball team in Oregon, even though unfortunately they had a down year this year. They're not going to the tournament, unfortunately. Lazo, so great cooperation. So thanks for that shout out, because yes, it has been an amazing partnership with Five9 and Microsoft. And then Thomas, great, very simple. I love the simplistic comment: CRM system, record contact center, system of engagement, because it's true. You have to engage the people and track that and have those engagements and conversations. Yeah. And then Marcus, you got it. And yes, Kelly, you got it. That's fantastic. Great. So let's talk about Walt. So you talked about all these amazing use cases that Five9 delivers with us. What are some examples, or what are some of your favorite examples that you've witnessed and seen with customers, with our joint customers, of the scenarios, whether it be industry or cross-industry use cases that you're able to talk about and share to this public audience?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is in the higher ed space, a customer called Regent University. And so they had about 11,000 students. They do a lot of online, online classes and enrollment. And the way they think about the contact center, it's really from the it starts with the beginning of a student exploring whether to apply, the application process, joining, enrolling, getting financial aid. It's all handled through the contact center. And they had a mandate to grow, and we're on an old on-premise call center system that did not work with Dynamics, which was their CRM system. And so they engaged with Five9, and they had a mandate that said, look, we need to be flexible. We need to move to the cloud. We need this to integrate to Dynamics, and we need to do this without just hiring more staff. We want to be able to maintain the staff we have and deliver a better experience to our students. And so we engaged because we had already pre-built. We have a pre-built integration to Dynamics, which makes that a really seamless experience to get up and running. They selected Five9 and got up and running, and they went from the number of calls they were able to take increased dramatically, 5 to 10 times after they got up and running. The other thing that happened, this was again just prior to the pandemic, they, like everybody else, also needed to overnight send their employees home to work from home, and they were able to do that. As we talked about earlier, they could just get them a laptop and a headset, and they were able to continue to provide service. One of the things that a story that I've heard, and it's interesting, as they were going up, they're getting live through the implementation phase and the testing process. They took a subset of employees and put them on the Five9 Dynamics system as kind of a test, and to make sure things were working well. And then before they were going to go live for everything, they were going to take it away from them and make them go back to the old system. Well, the employees did not like that. They said, no, hey, you can't wait. We're here. We want to stay on this. So it really shows that, that we have a really good experience with the Dynamics product and satisfying customers.
That's great, Walt. Okay, and I love that story because I've heard that story in other ISV use case scenarios. Is that transition, again, going back to the pandemic, the fact that they were able to lift those people very quickly and move them over is great. And then to your point, like once someone starts using something, you can't take it away from them, especially have an amazing experience that you guys provide with us, which is great. Before we go into more questions, it's great. We had a comment that maybe you can address this, and I apologize. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name, Shabindra. So if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, and I apologize if I'm not, but how long does a project would take, and do technologies and employees have family life to be flexible without taking stress outside of office? I think the biggest thing is like when you think about some of the examples that you described, Walt, what would be like how quickly, if you can comment, how quickly were you able to get some of these examples up and running? Like, because you think about these contact centers, sometimes that can be complex because of course, whatever technology and things they're using, and you having to integrate that with a business application. What are some of the examples? Because I know it always depends, but
it always depends.
Examples that you've seen of the time it takes to actually quickly deploy Five9 and get a contact center running in transition to a Dynamics implementation.
Yeah, I mean, again, you said it. It all depends on the environment. A lot of it's not so much it's not the technology. It's just the company's willingness and preparedness to move over. So, we've brought customers up in days to get them live taking phone calls, and then some others it can take months depending on the amount of change management that's involved and kind of the complexity of what they're trying to do. But it really can be as quick as days to get up and running in some cases.
That's great. So keep the questions coming. So we have a few minutes left, and we do have a video that we're going to run at the end of the dialogue, just to give again everyone awareness to the use case scenarios with Microsoft. But Walt, as we wrap up, what would you recommend as call to action and next steps for people who are looking at this, whether, hey, maybe it's a Microsoft employee wanting to learn more about the partnership to drive joint selling. Maybe it's a customer that may be listening, maybe it's an education customer, someone of those cross solution use cases where they go, wait a second, we have a call center. It's not working as effectively as I want it to. And then lastly, if there's a partner out there that goes, this is interesting, we're doing a lot of deployments where this is a need, what would you recommend as next steps for any of those types of people?
Yeah, so a couple things I would say. First, the Microsoft App Source is a terrific place to start for anybody, any customers, any employees, any partners. Five9's listed on the App Source, and you can get information and get connected to Five9 via the App Source. Second is Five9, we have our own CX Marketplace. So go to the CX Marketplace under the Microsoft listings, and you can get connected either to If you're a partner, you can get connected to our partner team. If you're an employee of Microsoft, you can get connected to the Alliance team here at Five9. And if you're a customer, you can get connected to the right contact to talk to you about your contact center needs. And I think the last is, and I see it on the screen here, for Five9 employees, there's a AKA system where Microsoft employees can go learn more information about how to team up with Five9.
That's great, Walt. So as we wrap up, again, if there's any last comments or questions that people may have, we're happy to go take them. But let me just look at the other scenario. So it's interesting. So thanks, Brandon. I think we created a question of like maybe people's brackets, as the brackets now have been released. I think Go Boilers was probably meaning Purdue.
Yes.
I think that's probably what Brandon's referring to, trying to go back to my mascot history lesson of all that. And then Steve, thanks for joining. It looks like we have a new Five9 employee. And so, yeah, the partnership that we have that Walt and I have been talking about for the past close to 30 minutes has been really good. So any last comments, Walt, before we wrap up and go to the video? I truly, truly appreciate you making the time and the Five9 commitment in joining this Microsoft ecosystem and sharing the great stories that you had covered.
No, thank you for the opportunity, Brian. And again, we've just had a terrific relationship and experience working with both the Microsoft teams, or the sellers, and just the whole organization, as well as your ecosystem. And we want to just keep doing more of that, because when we get together and work together, customers seem to like what we're delivering to them. So we like to do that.
Great. And then it looks like Brandon already asked the answer to the question, but this one, because for those of you who aren't aware, so Nuance was just recently acquired by Microsoft. Well, the formality of it finally went through, meaning that we made the intention to acquire, but as complexities and all those things happen, it actually didn't officially happen until I think it was about a week ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and that's correct, Marcus. So thanks, Brandon, for commenting in real time. So that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching this. If you're watching the replay, thank you for making the time. Definitely encourage everyone to follow. We do these things every Monday. We have another great ISV scheduled for next week. Please stay on the video for another about roughly a minute, because we will run a video. And thanks again, Walt and Five9. And for those of you in the US or maybe globally who enjoy March Madness, which is the NCAA basketball tournament, both men and women, please enjoy it. It's one of my favorite times of the year, because it's also it also denotes the spring is coming. So warmer weather, trees and flowers all blossoming. So thanks, everybody. Please take care. And thanks again, Walt, for making the time.
Thank you.
Meet aspiring homeowners Amanda and Tyler. While looking at mortgage options on their bank's website, they realize they have more questions than answers. A live chat window appears at the bottom of their screen. Michael, an experienced agent, calls Amanda and Tyler while reviewing their customer information. He's able to make a personal connection almost immediately, with details such as, "I see you're looking to move to Chicago. I lived there for 4 years, and I just helped someone in your area with the same process," making Amanda and Tyler comfortable and confident with the conversation. An experience made possible with the integration of the Five9 Intelligent Cloud Contact Center and the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform. During their conversation, Michael realizes that Amanda and Tyler need the expertise of a credit specialist. So he loops in Maria, a credit expert, into the call in real time with Microsoft Teams. Through a seamless, personalized, and friendly experience, Amanda and Tyler got all of their questions answered, and the bank secured a mortgage loan. Together, Five9 and Microsoft are creating stories like Amanda and Tyler's every day.